up, y'all? This is Icon here doing Crisis episode 2. Still trying to get over that arrow death. But so this episode, it starts with right after Oliver's death. Sarah, Kate, and Kara, they're about to toast to Oliver, and Barry was supposed to be there, and Kara said Barry didn't show up because he felt like toasting to Oliver's death was giving up on him, and Barry felt like he could still save him. And then Kara agreed, because Kara was like, I'm not toasting to him, because she's like, Barry's right. And then Sarah was just like, he was a hero, he died a hero, and she was ready to give it up, but Kate was just like, this is awkward for me. And then so like the Monitor shows up, he brings everybody onto the ship, because they're on, actually no, they were at Star Labs. And then, the Monitor shows up, Harbinger shows up, and then Harbinger's just like, listen, in order for us to do what we got to do, we need the technology of the Wave Rider. And then Sarah was just like, yeah, she was like, I kind of promised like my crew that, we wouldn't do any more crossovers. And when she said that, I'm like, your crew, I'm like, so you basically talk about Mick and Nate, because like everybody else on the Legends team is gone. So, but she, that was a funny line when she said that she promised them that they wouldn't do any more crossovers, so, no, but she was just like, no, she was like, there's infinite Earths, and I can get a Wave Rider from any Earth. We just need a Wave Rider. So she goes to Earth 74, I believe, and she's on the Wave Rider. It's like full of beer. And when she gets to the Wave Rider, the Gideon, the voice, like the AI comes on, and it's not Gideon, it's Leonard Snart. It's like the voice of Leonard Snart. He was just, he was like, I'm Leonard, like the intelligence of the ship. And then when when Lila heard his voice, like she smiled because she knew that was Leonard Snart. And then she was like, I know you. And he's like, always nice to meet a fan. And then, and then Mick shows up, and then, Lila said that the Legends on Earth 74 retired. And then Mick was like, yeah, he said, like one of us died, the rest retired, and then he stayed on the ship because no one was using it. And if that follows like the trend of season 1, because Leonard Snart was the one who died in season 1 of Legends. If that follows the trend, then that means after they stopped Vandal Savage, that means they all quit, and the time travel thing that led into season 2 never happened, which I thought was interesting. So Lila basically was just like, hey, Earth 74, Mick Rory, I need the Wave Rider. She was like, come with me, we could use your help. She was like, we've got beer. When Lila found out that Mick was a writer, she was like, aside from beer, she was like, I'll take you on a journey where you can write all the stories that you want. It's cool that like on every Earth, like Mick Rory's trying to be a writer, and then Mick was like, you had me at beer. so Earth 74, Mick Rory, he's on Earth 1. So now everyone's on the Wave Rider. They're assembling the team. And then, the Monitor, he's, like Barry's pissed because he's like, Oliver shouldn't have died, like the wrong hero died. And then he's like, maybe so, but, he's like, I've discovered, these paragons. Like he said that there were 7 people who could help save the multiverse. And as soon as he said 7, I flat out was like Justice League. Like it was like Justice League. And then he was like, but they said that, you have to find, the Monitor told them, he was like, you guys have to find the 7 paragons. Like there's like then Lois was like, well, can you give us a hint? And then he was like, I can give you 4, because he was like, there's a paragon of hope, which was Kara. Like Kara is actually one of the paragons. And then, he said like the paragon of destiny, which was Sarah. And then he was like, there's a paragon of courage, and then like a paragon of truth. But he said like the paragon of truth was basically Superman, a Superman who's lost more than any mere mortal or being could bear. So then Clark was like, our Clark, he was just like, all right, he was like, I'll find that Superman. Kate was like, Kate, and she was the one sent to go find the Paragon of Courage, because apparently the Paragon of Courage was Bruce Wayne, was Earth 99 Bruce Wayne. And then he's, Sarah was there, so it's like, so they already got Sarah. And then like I said, that leaves like the 4th one over. So they go out, so they break up into teams. Before they break up into teams, Mia, she's like, well, actually, no, before that happened, the Monitor had brought back the Book of Destiny, because he was like, he went back in time and he retrieved the Book of Destiny before, because he said his powers are getting weak. And he's like, before his powers like clunk out on him, he was able to actually get the Book of Destiny. So he's like, I got the Book of Destiny. It's sitting in the library. And then Carr asked him, she was like, can the Book of Destiny bring back Earth 38? And then he was like, no, because he was like, that's too much power. It will drive someone to madness. And then Mia was like, well, can the book bring back my dad? And then he was like, no. And he was just like, no, the book, he was like, he said that's not gonna happen either. So Mia got pissed. She walked away. and then after that, Lex Luthor showed up, because remember, the Monitor, he saved Lex Luthor on Supergirl. Lex Luthor shows up, and then Kara sees him and immediately loses it. She's actually about to blast him, because like her eyes lit up. And then the Monitor was like, no, even Lex Luthor has a place in the crisis. And then she was like, well, if you think Lex Luthor is an ally, she was like, you and I can't be friends. And then she got mad and she stormed off. Lex Luthor ended up going into the library, and then he took the Book of Destiny. Lila caught him, and then he opened it, he looked at the book, and then he was just like, he's like, I see what I got to do. And then he jumped through a portal, and he disappeared. And then Lila went to the Monitor. She was like, yo, this mofo just stole the book. And then he was like, yes, he did. Haha. Then she was like, you wanted him to take the book? And he was like I said, even Lex Luthor has a part to play. So come to find out, with Luthor, his big plan, he took the Book of Destiny to find all the Supermen across the entire multiverse. This fool is going from Earth to Earth to Earth to Earth, killing Supermen. He's Earth hopping. He's on a Superman killing spree. I'm like, this dude is obsessed. So, so then the Monitor sent our Clark, Lois, and Iris, because Iris finally showed up. He sent the three of them to go find the Paragon Superman that they need. They go to one Earth. And then by the time they find Superman, it shows on the big television screen that Lex Luthor killed Superman. And then they had Superman like laid out on his back, he was dead. And then Lois, was like that Earth's Lois was next to him. And then he was like she was caressing him or whatever. And that was the Doomsday shot where Lois with Superman. That was the Doomsday shot, which I thought was kind of cool. So they were just like, all right, so we missed out on that one. So then there's like, all right, so let's go to the next Earth. They go to the next Earth, which is Earth 167, and it happened to be the Smallville Earth, and it actually said Earth 167 Smallville. So it's the Smallville Earth. They're on the Kent farm. Clark, Lois, and Iris, they roll up on Tyler Hoechlin's Superman. He's all like old and shit. He's at the farm, he's chopping wood. And then Clark thought that was weird, because he was just like, yo, I can chop wood like with one hand by myself. He's like, why does this dude look like he's struggling? I was like, maybe he's the old age, whatever. So then they talked to him. They were just like, listen, like Lex Luthor is coming to kill you. He's hunting Superman. And then Lex Luthor showed up, and he was like, you got that right. And he used the book to make Iris, Lois, and Clark disappear. So then now it's just Lex Luthor talking to Tyler Hoechlin Superman. He was like, you're not the president, because on Smallville Earth, Lex Luthor is the president. So he's like, you're not the president. He was like, I'm Lex Luthor, and I'm here to kill you. So Luthor takes out the kryptonite. And then Tyler Hoechlin Superman's just looking at him, and he's like, what the hell is this? And then he was just like, why is the kryptonite not working? And then Clark takes the kryptonite and like chucks that shit into the field. And he's just like, yeah, kryptonite hasn't worked on me since I got rid of my powers. And then, like Lex is like, what do you mean you got rid of your powers? He's like, you were able to fly, you had x-ray vision, laser vision, like frost breath, super speed. And then he accidentally steps on a kid's toy. And then he's like, really? And then and then Clark told him, yeah, because he was apparently, he got Lois pregnant. He married Lois. She got pregnant. She had 2 kids. And because he was going to be a dad, he was just like, yo, I don't need superpowers. He's like, all I need is my family. And he chose to give up his powers to be a family man. And then when he, after he told Lex that, Lex was kind of like, well, you've taken the joy out of killing you now, because like it's no fun killing a Superman with no powers, and then he's just like, whatever, dude. He's like, I just leave you be. And then, he actually tried to hit him. He tried, like, there was actually a moment where he tried the sneak attack, and then like Hoechlin like dodged his punch and punched him in the face. And he was like, yeah, he's like, even with no power, I'm still stronger than you. He dropped Luthor, and Luthor was like, you know what? He was like, keep your mediocre farm life. He was like, yo, I'm out this bitch. And then he jumped in the wormhole off to the next Superman. And then Lois, Smallville Lois, she came out of the house, who also played Kara's mom on, or she was Kara's mom on Earth 38, so she did on Earth 38. But she comes out of the house, and then she's just like, "What's going on, Smallville?" And then he was like, "Lex Luthor just showed up and said that the entire multiverse was being threatened." And then she thought he was joking, and then the two of them went into the house to go be with the kids, and then that was it. That was it for Smallville. So if you were a person who was a huge fan of Smallville and you never felt like Smallville got the ending it deserved, there's your happy ending for the cast of Smallville. So now they go on to another Earth. I forget which one this was. I think it was like 74 or something. And they go to another Earth, and they go to the Daily Planet. They meet Superman, and when they meet Superman, it's Ray Palmer. Because remember, Brandon Routh, he played Superman in the Superman movie. So they went to that Earth, and he's that version of Superman. They go into his office, and then there's like a bunch of plaques on the wall that's like dedicated to like the fallen. And then they asked him, they was like, what's with the plaques? And then he was just, because like Jimmy Olsen was dead, Perry White was dead, Lois Lane was dead. And then what happened was, he basically told him, he was like, the Joker was upset because we weren't giving him enough press in the newspaper. So he came to the Daily Planet, he pumped it full of gas, and he killed everybody. He was like, like, I lost my wife. He was like, and that's kind of sad, because I saw the Brandon Routh Superman movie. And you mean to tell me that after watching that movie, like, he basically just said that, like, everybody dead, like, eventually now, everybody dead. So I was like, well, that sucks, and then he was by himself. And like, because he's Superman, like, but he couldn't save them. Like, he couldn't save his friends. He couldn't save his family. And it's like, for all that power, for all that strength, like he failed at protecting the population. And, he was kind of depressed about that. And then Lois said, she was just like, yeah, like, you basically just endured a pain that, no mere mortal or any other human being can endure. And they were just like, yo, he's the Superman we were looking for. And then Lex Luthor shows up, and then he was just like, you're here to kill me, Lex. So then he was like, yeah, I'm done with killing Superman. He was like, so he used the book to control Brandon Routh Superman's mind, and he told Brandon Routh Superman to kill like our Superman. So now there's like a big Superman fight, because he's possessed, and he's just like, you don't want to kill me, Clark? He was like, yes, I do, because I couldn't save my family, whatever. And then, like Iris and Lois ends up knocking out Lex Luthor, and then they take the book. And this was weird, because I could have sworn in the last crossover, the monitors said that it takes a special individual to be able to read the book, because I remember when Kara had the book in her hand, she couldn't read it. Like, other people had the book and they couldn't read it. Lois and Iris just picked up the book and they were just flipping through pages like it was all gravy. So I'm just like, all right, so apparently it's working for them. But then Lois was just like, well, what's going to bring him back is like love, because she's like, Lex basically turned his love into hate. So she reached out to his inner being, and she was just like, listen, she was like, like, the people who loved you wouldn't want this for you. She was like, like, you're Jimmy, you're Lois, like, you're Perry White. She was like, you got to do right by them. And then he snapped out of it and he came back. So he he goes on, so he goes on the Wave Rider. He's talking to Ray Palmer now, so now we get the Ray Palmer, Brandon Routh Superman scene. Mick was basically watching Superman's baby the whole time, reading him trashy sex novels while drinking beer, and then Brandon Routh, the Atom, like Ray Palmer, he built a machine that was going to find the other three Paragons. So now with the second group was Kate and Supergirl. They go to Earth 99 and go see Bruce Wayne. They knock on the door. Luke Fox answers the door. And if you watch Batwoman, Luke Fox on Batwoman, he's like this nerdy kid, who speaks like he's basically like, he's like the Black Felicity Smoke. Like, he's a complete like tech nerd and everything. This dude answers the door. He answers Bruce Wayne's door on Earth 99. He comes out with like these tight jeans, his shirt's all open, like he's all buff with like a six-pack with everything. And then when he opened the door and he just came out like, basically like half naked with no clothes, like Kate was looking at him and she was like, well, damn. She was like, yo, good. She's like, nice six pack. And then he was like, I'm sorry, do I know you? And she was like, well, I know you, but not like this. And then he closed the door on him. And then Kara was like, what, is he a villain on She's like, is he a villain on Earth One? She was like, no, he's a friend actually. She was like, he's just not this buff and cool. And then Kara was like, well, at least he's cute. And then Kate was like, nah, we're not doing this. She's like, you were not banging. She's like, you were not coming on to Luke Fox. So Kara kicks the door in. Luke has a gun pointing to them, and then Bruce shows up and he's like, calm down, Luke. He's like, we mustn't be rude to guests. So then Batman shows up. He's got the exoskeleton on. He all old and shit. It's the Batman, the animated series Batman. And when he saw Kate, he was surprised because he said his Kate died like 5 years ago. And then, she was like, well, what happened? Like, what's the deal? And then Bruce showed her a newspaper that said Batman's reign of terror is over. And then she's like, reign of terror? And then he was just like, yeah, he was like, yeah, I had a code and everything. He was like, but eventually, like, it went too far. And then I had to take a life. And then he was like, once you take that one life and then you take another and you take another. And then he fell off the deep end. And he was like, yo, this world sucks. He was like, like my Earth sucks. It can't be saved. It's like people need justice. Like he went crazy. Like he did the age old, he was the hero, and then he lived long enough to see himself become a villain, and he just got to a point where he just flat out started murking everybody. Kate was like, "This isn't you, Bruce," and then he was like, "Shut up, Kate." And so then like Luke was in the library talking to Kara, and then Kara was like X-ray visioning the house, and then she saw like his trophy case, and then she was like, what are these? And then he was like, oh, they're mementos, because he said these are mementos from every villain that Bruce Wayne defeated. And then they had the Riddler cane, like a Joker card, but then she saw Clark Kent glasses, and then she was like, what are these? And then he was like, yeah, that's Superman's alter ego. And then she was like, Bruce Wayne killed Batman. She's like, Bruce Wayne killed Superman. And he was like, well, duh, who do you think put him in that exoskeleton? He's like, yep, he shouldn't have done that. So, but the way Luke made it sound was like, because obviously they were talking about like the Batman versus Superman thing, but the way Luke made it sound was like Superman was the one who went rogue, and then he beat up Batman, and then Batman put the exoskeleton on, got his revenge, and then whooped Superman's ass and killed him, which was probably his first death, because Batman, he held on to his code for so long, like the no killing code. If Superman was the first person that he ever killed, I understand why after that you then go on a killing spree and just say, you know what, to hell with it. Because once you didn't kill Superman, he had to feel like, yo, I'm untouchable at this point. So, but he was talking to Kate, but Bruce was talking to Kate, and then he was just like, yo, my Kate was weak. She thought she could be Batman and she died. And he was just like, like there's no hope. He kept saying that over and over again. He was like, there's no hope, Kate, there's no hope. And then Kara showed up, and then she was just like, oh, he's not the paragon we want. She was like, he killed Superman. And then he was like, Kryptonians are a piece of shit. And then he had like this little pocket device in his arm that had some kryptonite in it. So he opened it. Kara dropped to her knees. He tried to kill Kara. Kate stepped in, punched Bruce in the stomach. He fell back on a generator, and then Bruce got electrocuted, and he died. So, out of all the years of heroism, defeating villains, like saving the world, doing the Justice League, the great and powerful Batman was defeated by Batwoman in the Batcave. So just let that sink in for a second. So Batman died, and before he died, he was like, Kate, she's like, yes, Bruce, what are your last words? There's no hope. And then he died, which was, I was like, that's kind of sad. So, they ended up going back to the Wave Rider, and then they were just like, yo, like going to see Bruce, that shit was a dead end, because, there's, he's not the person we're looking for. The third installment of this episode, the third mission, Mia and Barry had decided that they're going to find a Lazarus pit and bring Oliver back to life. Sarah was like, it's not a good idea. And then Mia was just like, well, when it's your dad, maybe you'll have a say so. Iris was just like, Barry told Iris about the Lazarus pits, and she was like, that sounds too good to be true. And then he was like, it has to be, because, he told me that he brought Thea back. That's how he brought Sarah back. And then he told her, and then she was just like, but what if he's wrong? And he was like, he can't be wrong. This has to be true. And then Barry told her flat out, he was like, he doesn't die. He was like, anybody, he was like, it could have been anybody else. He was like, he looked Iris dead in the face, and he was like, anybody but him. She was like, not him. He's not going to die. And Iris was like, all right, cool. So, Constantine's back. Constantine shows up, He locates he locates an Earth that has a Lazarus pit, and then they go to that Earth. When they find the Lazarus pit, they're just like, all right, the pit's here. Barry and Constantine was like, yo, we're gonna go get Oliver's body. We'll be right back. And then Jonah Hill shows up. He attacks Mia and Sarah because that was his cave. They beat him up. Jonah Hill's down for the count. Barry and Constantine come back. They drop Oliver in the Lazarus pit water. Oliver comes out of the pit. He's all crazy. They knock him out, they trank him, and then Mia's like, well, what's wrong? Why isn't he okay? And then she was just like, Sarah said that the pit restores your body, but now we got to go get his soul. Constantine tried to do his magical voodoo to bring Oliver's soul back, and he couldn't because he was just like the skies. He's like, the red skies and everything, like it's messing with my powers. And he was just like, because it's messing with my powers, like he's like, I don't got my magical mumbo jumbo, and he was like, I can't do it. So they were just like, well, if we can't save Oliver's soul, he's just gonna be like this monster, like this monster, like brainless creature. Because you remember on Arrow when they brought Sarah back to life and she was like downstairs, chained up in the basement, eating raw meat off the floor. That's they was like, unfortunately that's the path that Oliver was headed, until they can come up with a way to save him. And I'm just like, his body's back. You brought him back to life. You got the Book of Destiny. The book should be able to at least restore his mind, but they never touched on that because after that. That was how that chapter ended, with the four of them basically surrounding Oliver's crazed body. So back on the Wave Rider, Ray finished his machine to locate the Paragons, and then when it located the Paragon of Courage, and it happened to be on the ship, and they were just like, well, Bruce Wayne's not on the ship. And then the Monitor was like, that's because it's you, Kate Kane, and then you're the Paragon of Courage. And then she was just like, well, ain't that some shit? So so then Kara talks to her, and there, and she told her, she was just like, look, I know you just started the superhero game, but she was like, you got the courage, you got the strength, you got the determination, just trust your instincts, and then we'll be here to back you up. And then she was like, all right, she was like, cool, because Kara was supposed to be the Paragon of Hope. So she was like, there's that hope we're talking about. But then Kara said that she's gonna try to use the book or find a way to bring back Earth 38. And then Kate told her, she was like, well, the Monitor said that wasn't a good idea. She was like, I know, but if I'm supposed to be the Paragon of Hope, I have to at least try. And then Kate kind of had that look like, Kara's about to do something stupid. And the little kryptonite case thing that I said Bruce had on his arm, Kate pulled it out of her pocket. And I'm like, at what point did you boost the kryptonite off of, and the only reason why she would take the kryptonite, part of what Bruce said got to her. And there's a part of Kate that's like, yo, in case Kara decides to go ape shit, I got me a contingency plan. So, that's gonna come up. That's gonna be very awkward when Kara finds out that she got that kryptonite in her back pocket. But we'll see what happens with that. And then after that, Lila. Now see, the thing with Lila, ever since the Monitor opened the Book of Destiny, the book was like calling to her, and she was like going crazy. So eventually, she ended up disappearing and reappearing in some random place that looked like Star Labs. And then the Anti-Monitor shows up, and then he's just like, Lila Michaels, a harbinger, we've got work to do. So now Lila's working for the Anti-Monitor. And the Anti-Monitor is basically the Monitor. It just looks like his face is like old and decrepit. And it's weird because the Anti-Monitor, I'm gonna guess, is probably the Monitor in like the future or something. Or like he's the doppelganger of the Monitor, and he just went rogue because he looked exactly like him, but like I said, he just looked like he was like old and like defeated and like decayed. So, or maybe they're brothers. Who knows? They're brothers. We'll see. we'll see what happens. So that was how the episode ended. So we're closing up on episode 3, but before we get to episode 3, we have to take a little detour and go to Freeland because Black Lightning was part of the crossover as well. He will be a part of the crossover starting episode 3, but watch Black Lightning episode 9. I'm about to review that one next because some shit went down on Black Lightning. And so thanks for tuning in for my Crisis episode 2 review. Again, Black Lightning episode 9, which is the Crisis episode coming next. Then we got Crisis episode 3. Then we'll take our break, and then when we come back, we'll do episodes 4 and 5. So keep it locked until next time for the Crisis. I'm out this bitch.